within the heart of the dense, ancient forest lay a hidden gem known as the Forgotten Lake. Its waters shimmered with an unsettling stillness, reflecting the surrounding trees like a mirror to another world. Few dared to venture near it, and those who did never spoke of what they had experienced. A group of 5 adventurous friends, craving a unique camping experience, decided to make the journey to the Forgotten Lake. They heard whispers of its eerie history, tales of disappearances, and ghostly echoes that seemed to drift across the water on moonlit nights. Undeterred by the ominous stories, they packed their camping gear and set out on their expedition. As they trekked through the forest, the air grew heavy with a palpable tension. The trees seemed to lean in, their branches intertwining to form a sinister canopy. The sound of their footsteps was muffled by the dense undergrowth, and the air was filled with a hushed anticipation. When they finally arrived at the shore of the Forgotten Lake, they were met with a sight that sent shivers down their spines. The water was so calm it appeared almost motionless, like a sheet of glass reflecting the moon's ghostly glow. The trees encircled the lake like silent sentinels, their twisted branches casting elongated shadows that danced on the surface. Unfazed, they set up their tents and started a campfire, the flames casting a warm glow that contrasted with the surrounding darkness. They laughed and told stories, trying to ignore the unsettling feeling that they were being watched. As the night wore on, a fog began to roll in, wrapping the campsite in an ethereal mist. It was then that they heard it, the faintest of whispers, like the sigh of a breeze through the leaves. At first, they dismissed it as a trick of the wind, but the whispers grew louder, more distinct. The words were unintelligible, yet they carried an otherworldly weight, a sense of ancient secrets waiting to be unveiled. Nervous glances were exchanged among the friends as the whispers continued to crescendo. Their laughter turned to unease, and the campfire's warmth did little to fend off the chill that had settled into their bones. The forest seemed to come alive with unseen eyes, and the very air throbbed with an unsettling energy. One of the friends, overcome by curiosity and perhaps a touch of bravado, suggested they follow the whispers to their source. Armed with flashlights, they ventured towards the water's edge, the light cutting through the fog like a beacon. With each step, the whispers grew clearer, and they could almost make out words, a lament, a plea, a sorrowful tale from ages past. Suddenly, the whispers seemed to emanate from the water itself. The surface rippled as if touched by an unseen hand, and a soft, mournful voice echoed through the night. The voice spoke of a love lost, of promises broken, of a life cut short. It was a voice from another time, another world, a voice that carried the weight of tragedy. Fear tightened its grip on the friends as they realized they were not alone. Shapes moved in the water, ethereal figures that seemed to dance just beyond their vision. Their flashlights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped, surrounded by the ghostly whispers and the mysterious figures in the water. Desperation fueled their flight back to the campsite, but the forest seemed to have shifted in the fog, disorienting them. They stumbled through the undergrowth, the whispers following them like a haunting refrain. Just as they were on the brink of despair, the mist began to lift, revealing their campsite in the distance. As they collapsed by the campfire, gasping for breath, they realized the whispers had subsided. The night air was once again still, and the fog had lifted to reveal a clear sky. They exchanged solemn glances, knowing that they had glimpsed something beyond the realm of the living, an echo of the past that had been awakened by their presence. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, they made a unanimous decision to leave the Forgotten Lake behind. They packed their belongings, not looking back as they retreated from the haunting waters. And as they walked away, they couldn't shake the feeling that the whispers would forever remain, a haunting melody carried by the wind across the tranquil surface of the lake, a melody that would linger in their memories long after they had left the forest behind. Deep within the heart of the sprawling Pinebrook Forest lay a trail with a chilling reputation, the Vanishing Trail. Hikers who dared to tread its path often found themselves lost in a labyrinth of shifting landscapes and eerie occurrences. Yet, the allure of its breathtaking views drew adventure seekers like moths to a flame. A group of friends, Alex, Sarah, Chris, and Emma, set out on a sunny morning, armed with backpacks and a sense of excitement. The foliage around the trailhead seemed ordinary, but as they ventured deeper, the atmosphere changed. Trail markers vanished as if swallowed by the trees, leaving them bewildered. Chris brushed it off, claiming they had taken a wrong turn. But when their map became useless and landmarks seemed to warp, unease settled in their hearts. As the sun dipped below the horizon, panic set in. Darkness enshrouded them, and they realized they were utterly lost. Tensions ran high, and they argued about which way to go, their flashlights casting fleeting shadows that danced eerily. The woods seemed to whisper secrets they couldn't decipher, and strange symbols appeared carved into tree trunks. Their unease grew when Emma suddenly vanished. One moment she was there, and the next, she was gone, no screams, no trace. Frantic, the group searched, but the forest swallowed her without a trace. Fear gnawed at their resolve, and they clung together, whispering about the trail's sinister reputation. Days turned into a disorienting blur. Hunger gnawed at them, and exhaustion pulled at their limbs. Sarah woke one morning to find herself alone, the tents and Chris missing. She stumbled upon a clearing where twisted trees formed an unnatural circle. As she gazed at the center, she saw Chris, suspended midair, limbs contorted in an impossible pose. Terrified, she fled, the sound of eerie laughter echoing behind her. Alone and desperate, Sarah stumbled upon symbols similar to those carved into the trees. Clutching her flashlight, she followed them, hoping they might lead her to answers. The symbols grew more frequent, guiding her deeper into the forest until she reached an ancient, crumbling altar. She felt eyes upon her and whirled around to see Emma and Chris, their faces pale, their eyes vacant. They beckoned her to join them, voices distant and hollow. Sarah's heart raced, and she realized they were no longer themselves. She fled, the forest seemingly conspiring against her, shifting paths to confound her escape. As she ran, the forest came alive, tendrils of shadow reaching out to snatch at her heels. Exhausted and broken, Sarah stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin. Inside, she found a journal, its pages filled with the desperate writings of those who had walked the vanishing trail. They spoke of a malevolent entity that fed on fear, a being that reveled in ensnaring travelers and distorting their reality. With newfound determination, Sarah deciphered the symbols and performed an ancient ritual described in the journal. As the symbols glowed, the forest seemed to tremble, and the air grew heavy. In the heart of the cabin, the entity manifested, a twisted, shifting figure of darkness. Sarah confronted the being, her voice trembling but resolute. She demanded freedom for her friends and herself. The forest roared in protest, shadows swirling around her, but she held her ground. The entity's form wavered, weakened by her determination. With a final scream, it vanished, and the forest grew still. The symbols on the trees faded, replaced by a sense of calm. The landscape shifted again, guiding Sarah back to the trailhead. Weak and battered, she emerged from the Pinebrook forest, her friends by her side. Their memories were hazy, but the terror of the vanishing trail would forever be etched in their minds. From that day on, hikers avoided the trail, its dark reputation solidified by the harrowing tale of those who had faced the malevolent entity that lurked within its depths. And though the forest seemed tranquil, those who knew its secrets understood that some paths were best left unexplored. In the heart of the dense woods lay Camp Greenwood, a place of adventure and camaraderie for generations of young campers. As the sun set, casting long shadows among the trees, a group of excited campers gathered around a crackling campfire. The counselors had just finished their eerie tales, and now, they spoke of the infamous cursed campfire songs. Legend had it that decades ago, a camper named Eleanor met an untimely end during a campfire sing-along. Her spirit, fueled by a love for music and a thirst for vengeance, was said to be bound to the very songs they were warned against singing. Campers whispered that singing these songs would awaken Eleanor's vengeful spirit, bringing forth a malevolent force that thrived on fear. As the campers listened to the counselor's words, the atmosphere grew tense. Some exchanged skeptical glances, while others fidgeted nervously. Counselor Sarah, her eyes gleaming with a mischievous spark, reached into a box and pulled out an old, weathered songbook, the very book rumored to contain the cursed songs. Sarah cleared her throat, her voice trembling slightly, and began to read out the lyrics to one of the songs, her voice carrying an eerie melody that sent shivers down the campers' spines. The wind seemed to whisper through the trees in response, causing a few campers to exchange uneasy looks. But skepticism prevailed, and some campers started singing along, giggling at the supposedly cursed verses. As the final notes of the song hung in the air, a cold breeze swept through the campsite, extinguishing the campfire. Nervous laughter erupted, but the unease was palpable. Ignoring the uneasy atmosphere, another camper, Mark, picked up the songbook. He flipped through its pages, searching for another cursed psalm to sing. With an air of bravado, he started another tune, his voice wobbly at first but growing stronger with each verse. As the last note faded, a distant, mournful howl echoed through the woods, and the temperature dropped noticeably. The laughter had subsided by now, replaced with wary glances. Counselor Sarah tried to lighten the mood, suggesting they call it a night. But the atmosphere was charged, and despite the counselor's advice, some campers urged Mark to continue singing from the book. The next song Mark chose was known as the Song of the Lost, a haunting melody said to beckon lost souls from the shadows. As he sang, the moon emerged from behind a cloud, casting an eerie glow over the campsite. The campers stared into the darkness beyond the firelight, half expecting to see the specter of Eleanor herself. With a sudden, bone-chilling gust of wind, the campfire was extinguished once more, plunging the campsite into darkness. Panicked whispers filled the air as campers fumbled for flashlights and lanterns. And then they heard it, a soft, melancholic hum that seemed to emanate from all around them. Terrified, the campers scanned the forest, their flashlight beams flickering through the trees. It was as if the very woods were alive with a presence they couldn't see but could feel. The hum grew louder, becoming a chorus of voices that seemed to surround them, their words unintelligible yet hauntingly familiar. As fear took hold, they realized they had crossed a boundary they shouldn't have. Eleanor's spirit was no longer just a legend, she was real, and they had awoken her with their reckless disregard for the warnings. Shadows danced among the trees, and as the campers huddled together, they caught fleeting glimpses of a spectral figure, clad in tattered camp attire, moving among them. One by one, the campers vanished into the darkness, their terrified screams piercing the night before being swallowed by the woods. The hum grew louder, and the air grew thick with an otherworldly presence. Only a few remained, trembling and paralyzed with fear. The remaining campers, desperate to escape the wrath of Eleanor's vengeful spirit, followed the fading light of the moon, stumbling through the woods in a blind panic. But the forest seemed to warp around them, the trees twisting into menacing shapes, and the hum of the ghostly choir still echoing in their ears. Dawn broke just as they stumbled upon the camp's entrance, their faces etched with terror. The counselors arrived to find a scene of chaos and devastation. Campers were missing, and the campfire area was in shambles. Though authorities were called, no trace of the missing campers was ever found. The woods surrounding Camp Greenwood had taken them, drawn by the allure of the cursed campfire songs. The legend of Eleanor's vengeful spirit persisted, serving as a chilling warning to those who dared to meddle with forces beyond their understanding. And as the sun set over Camp Greenwood, the wind sometimes carried the faint, mournful notes of a song that whispered of a lost soul forever bound to the haunting melodies of a cursed songbook.